thing is, once you've learned to fish a needle fish like that, it's no different to fishing a bucktail, the same. I was saying today before, we read a book by Doc Muller, and we've been fishing bucktails for a long time, pretty much similar to the needle fish. We're catching the odd fish, and you know, we thought we were pretty good. But we're like, we've got to be catching more fish than what we're getting, and we were losing jigs like they were going out of fashion. Same as needlefish. We probably started off, bought about 30, lost them all in the first week.
Yeah, we spent $500 on needlefish,
and within 10 days, I think
within 10 days, they were all gone, and we caught one pollock.
You know, and it's like,
and we're like, okay, right, let's save up some more money.
This
is true facts, yeah. And,
you know, so yeah, like I say, we're not brilliant. We make mistakes, and we did the same with these. We were like, okay, we want to learn to fish the bucktail. So we're like, do it moulds, right, let's order all the jigs, okay, like that.
We followed all the directions in the book, as described.
Yeah. It's like, slide that credit card through as quick as you can, so it's like a plaster being ripped off. And again, $400 or $500 later, it all arrived, and then you go to the post office and they go, you're going to have to pay customs duty on that as well. So, oh, God, okay, so another £100, oh, and GST. Okay, so another £50. So you get them all home, you're like, okay, so you mould a load up. And you go out there, and we've read this book, and we're like, I've got this book down with all the jig moulds, and it's by Doc Muller, and it's like, float the bucktail. I'm like, okay.
It's the big thing in this book. If any of you ever read called Fishing the Bucktail by Doc Muller, he makes this big thing about floating the bucktail. Now,
I'll tell you how well that floats.
Yeah.
Okay, about that float. Okay, and that's the mistake we make, because we're casting in, we're going to float it.
Because he's talking about the concept
snap it out the bottom, tie another one on.
I mean, I don't know how many of you in the room tie flies, okay, but this is exactly the same stuff as you use to tie clouds and minnows and things like that. And basically the hair is hollow. Now, if you actually read this book by Doc Moore, and it's not that he doesn't know what he's doing, he's an absolutely fantastic fisherman. It's the way that he's written it down. But he's talking about the hollow fibres in the bucktail offsetting the weight of the lead, but you still need the weight to be able to cast it in the first place. So you would either make it more sparse, which means it's less hair, or more shuttlecock-like, so it would offset the weight so it floats through the rungs. Boom. Snag, snag, snag. Kevin, how many bucktails have you got left? I lost all mine half an hour ago.
Yeah.
Let's go home and make some more.
And we were going down from, you know, because he was like, you know, you need to start off with about 1.5 ounces. And we were like, okay, yeah, so here we go. We've got like 20 of these, and it's tied up, you know, through the night, bloody eyes are like bright red because you've been, you know, you've not slept because you're going out the following day. So you tie all these things up, you're like, hey, here we go. In my bag, got a load. I say, cast in, lose it, cast in, lose it. Okay, it's snaggy there. Go down 10 yards, snag, here we go. Bust it out again, tie another one on, and again you've lost it all. So we're going on, okay, 1.5 ounces, too heavy, go down to 1 ounce, same problem. 1/2 ounce, same problem. Since we learned how to fish them, our average size is probably 3/4 ounce, sometimes 1.5 ounces. We hardly ever lose a jig.
And the one thing to remember,
we're fishing exactly the same as a needlefish.
When we first learned the needle fishing, I mean, we'll come to a close pretty quickly because we're all running out of time. But we thought, I mean, those of you that have seen a US needlefish, that would probably be somewhere around about a medium-sized one. And that's about, see, we don't even weigh them, but we just go, that's about right. We know it's going to work because we do displacement tests to make sure we're sinking everything. But we would have considered that to be miles too big, so we discarded like all the big choopy lures and all the big habs and, you know, all these like ones in the US. We bought them, but we're like, no,
the box too big.
So we went smaller and smaller and smaller until we ended up, Super Strike actually made us a special 3/4 ounce one, and we did start to catch bass on these lures. Now the one thing about a needlefish is that the hooks are quite critical in that the hooks will make the lure run like this, but if you wind them too quick, the lure will roll over. It's almost like it loses its keel weight and it has no direction it wants to go, and you won't catch fish when it's lying on its side. For some reason, that's upright, that's on its side. Fish won't touch it when it's on its side, but fish will touch it when it's upright. So it's really important to make sure that in the daylight you retrieve at a speed that you know you're not now going to make your needlefish roll up on its side. Really, so that's one thing to watch for. But again, as Kevin just said, we've started off by dropping down to a 1/2 ounce or a 1/4 ounce bucktail. We went down, we started to catch fish, but now actually to catch the fish that we have been catching, we've gone back up to ounce, 1.5 ounces because we've learnt to do it. And A lot of the needlefish now are 2 to 3 ounce needlefish that we're able to cast from here into the field on the other side near where the lights are over there. And it's like, you know, 100, 120 metre casts.
Yeah, you've got the wind behind you. You're just howling them out there, or you've got the wind coming at you. You just keep a low cast and you're still punching them 70 yards into the wind. You can't do that with a duo tied minnow, or you know, other type of lures. They just go 40 yards and that's it, and they bail on you. I don't know how much time we've got.
How much time
or is everyone getting bored?
We've got 10 minutes.
You're talking about 30 and 40 grams.
Yeah, no more than that. It's 20 what?
28 grams to an ounce.
Yeah, so 56, 74 grams.
But not always, and remember, sometimes we're talking about using a 2.5 or a 3 ounce needlefish
Water that deep.
in water that's well shallower
Sometimes
than
shallower.
that. But it's once you've actually offered, remember the planing doesn't matter how heavy it is, right? All the weight is in the tail, so it absolutely casts like an intercontinental ballistic missile. It's just like boom, off it goes, and you're like, oh my god, all the braid's gone, backing's gone. You'll have a good air for you. There you go, sit in the water. You've waited. Your needlefish is obviously sinking to the bottom now. Yeah. And you pick it up, but the moment you pick it up, because the weight's in the tail, you offer the planing surface, so it wants to ride to the surface. But because of the weight, when the way you're retrieving, it's going to sort of do this as it's coming through the water. And it's enough. That's all the action you ever need. And because you haven't got loads of tension on it, because even if you're retrieving, all you're doing is like,
keeping up the slack.
So, yeah, all you're doing is you're maintaining the tension. And if the tension becomes too much, this is where the Van Stall is a nightmare. And we've spoken to Van Stall about actually making it go backwards. Because sometimes as your lure's going around the current and it starts to get too tight, if it starts to go too tight and the bass wants to suck it towards it, it can't suck it in. So what we do is, if we know our lure is going to come into an area where the current suddenly speeds up, we'll cast out and we'll hold our rod right up here. And as it reaches the fast part of the water, we'll lower the rod. So we're actually does that make sense? So we're actually,
gives it slack to extend the drift.
To extend the drift, and you can make, instead of a drift being an arc, you can make it an ellipse. And if there's a rock there where you think there's a bass, you can cast over here, and you can actually extend the arc right the way over before it swings back around and then goes on to what's called the dangle, like in salmon fishing. And with needlefish, just like salmon or trout, the dangler is a really important part. Leave it there for a good, 20 seconds, would you say?
So that's what you'd normally get. So you're just getting in on a tightish line, you're getting that swing, as Keith was saying. Like sometimes we'll fish for these, and you can use a multiplier, and you can just put it into free spool, and you can just tow it back. But that's when we'll use like a Danny plug or something like that, which is a big metal lip swimmer. So you can cast it out in the current. You obviously been to the States. Anyone who's been to the States, big Danny's, Conrad's, anything like that. It's got a big surface area. You can like back wind it or just give it some drift in big. They'll mainly use them in outflows, out of jetties.
Yeah, anywhere there's a strong lateral.
Yeah, they're brilliant. Yeah.
So that includes beach fronts too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent way of doing it. Keith mentioned before, we was on, but just go quickly on to suspenders. What we do, we've mentioned it before on the forums, we've got slating. Most suspenders you would find out of a box designed for fresh water. You pull them down,
and they float straight.
And they in the sea, and they'll float straight back up. And even in fresh water, they will float, but quite slowly. We'll take these, change the hooks, add split rings, or we use lead tape that you can get from a golf shop that you put on to golf clubs to alter the swing weight.
Right, hold on. Right, that's what I remember. Right, now some of you, I'm not making any excuses for this. Some of you may have actually seen this, but I want you to actually grasp this concept quickly while I was talking about suspending lures. A suspending lure, okay, you know like we've just talked about the needlefish, it swings through the current, it does nothing. You cast a fly, it swings through, it does nothing. We drag down a lure, if it sits there for 3 minutes and it does nothing. But if a bass comes and finds it and it sucks it towards it, it will go and you'll know. So what we're trying to explain is just how critical this is. So there is not a single lure that comes out of the box, not any, that will, most of them made for Japanese freshwater bass fishing. Many are now saltwater versions. Basically all they've done is put saltwater grade hooks on. Now, it's funny because as Kevin said, we've got raked over the coals for this. These manufacturers put millions of pounds worth of development into this. Yeah, okay, fine. I work in rod development, I know what goes in. If they can't afford to do it, they don't do it, and they're always making compromises. Sometimes good compromises, but there's always a compromise because they're trying to sell it and make money. Now, this year in Nantes, they do like a thing in Nantes every year, you know, like a big tackle show.
Salon.
And Alan was telling us that he'd gone there, and the duo guy, the guy from the Japanese development company, had actually gone in and said, look guys, actually, all the laws we make are designed for Japanese freshwater. Their salt water is average 20 or 22 degrees centigrade, which means things are going to sink anyway. Yet as soon as they take those laws that are tuned for 20 degree salt water or fresh water, and suddenly you're putting them into UK temperatures, they're going to do something completely different, because the colder water gets, the more something will want to float. So if
It's denser.
Yes, because it's denser, and the warmer it gets, the more something will want to sink. So there is a particular time of year, now to second week in May, for us. May be different for you. So if you get cold, clear spring water, you cannot go wrong by carrying a suspending law. I don't mean a suspender that says suspender, a suspending law that does this. And I'll find it for you.